Go for it. Hello, everyone.
You need to put my video on.
Yeah, I'm going to put your video on.
Oh. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to World Migratory Bird Day. Thrilling day. Excited to be here. Also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and everybody out there celebrating in the States and Australia, I understand. Happy Mother's Day to all, especially happy Mother's Day to all the bird mothers out there, and their little birds in their nests. Birds are amazing, and migratory birds are incredible. And if there's a day to celebrate them, we are here. We're here with you from the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. My name is Jay Shofet. I'm Director of Partnerships and Development. The disembodied voice behind you is Lawrence Casimir, our Zoom expert and all-around great guy at our department. Behind all these Zoom webinars we've been enjoying for the last 2 months. We are going to go in just 1 minute live to the Jerusalem Bird Observatory, the Nili and David Bird Observatory in Jerusalem, right near the Knesset, right in the center of town. It's an incredible 1.5 acres of a natural wildlife sanctuary created and developed by the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel. Amir Balaban, who you might meet briefly during this trip, all of you Amir fans who are out there. But meanwhile, we are going to turn the video over to Alen Kacal. Alen is our director of the Jerusalem Bird Observatory. They're on site. We're going to have Ray behind Ofri behind the camera, and Ray at the birding station. We're going to do some live bird watching and probably a little nature watching and some really exciting ringing. So thank you all very much for joining from all points of the globe. Really appreciate it, especially you guys out there in crazy time zones. But we got to do it in the light, and while the birds that have been caught are still in their little sacks, so they can get banded and set free. So thank you all very, very much. Really appreciate it. And take it away, Alen.
Thanks, Jay, and hi everybody from all over the world. For those of you who are just going to bed, I think if you're in Indonesia or if you're just waking up in Oregon, I don't know why you're up. It's still dark there, isn't it? And for those of you who are waking up to a snowy northeast in northeast of Migratory Day, to those of you who are joining us. We're live here from the Nili and the Jerusalem Bird Observatory, right next to the Knesset, which is on the other side of this wall. And we're going to take you a little walk around the site to talk about why we're celebrating World Migratory Bird Day here in Jerusalem in the middle of the city. This is actually one of the best migration stopover sites in the whole of Israel. And I hope that you will understand why when we finish the tour. But the first question people ask me is, why here? Why are birds coming here to Jerusalem? And Lawrence, can you put up the first slide? So if you are involved in real estate at all, you'll know that the first thing they tell you is location, location, location. So the Jerusalem Bird Observatory is located in a small piece of land next to the Knesset and the Supreme Court in the middle of the city. We're actually located in an area that's bigger and greener because we have Gan Sacher below us, Gan Avradim above us, and we're smack in the middle. And this brings birds. The birds fly over the city. They see this green and they come down looking for food and looking for water. So location is very, very key here. The other part of that location, and Lawrence, can you put out the second slide? Has to do with where we're located in the world. Israel is the land bridge between Europe, Asia, and Africa. When I was a kid, we learned that Israel was the crossroads of the civilizations. Everybody came through here, whether it was Romans or Greeks or Mesopotamians or Egyptians. And this was the place they crossed through to get back and forth between these continents. So here in Israel, we know about this, and so do the birds. All the birds of Northern Europe, Asia, They want to get to Africa to spend the winter, and they head south. Something gets in their way. The thing that gets in their way is the Mediterranean Sea. If you're a little bird and you want to cross that ocean, you're probably going to run into trouble. If you run out of gas, there's nowhere to go unless maybe there's a passing luxury liner or something. So you want to go around the side. You're either going to go over Gibraltar or you're going to go over Israel as you go north and south. So this makes us one of the best migration routes in the world. I think second after the Panama migration route. And about 500 million birds are passing through Israel every single year. About 200 species of birds, that maybe more than that, are passing through the country, of about a total of about 550 species that we can see here in Israel. So it's really a fantastic site. Jerusalem is right on smack in the middle of the migration of the small songbirds, and that's what brings them here. So location, location, location. The other thing that's really important with migrating birds is they're looking for services. These are our best tourists, and the most tourists we get. Forget about all the other ones. These guys are passing through and they want the same thing that tourists all over the world want. They want good food, good drinks, and a place to rest. So let's go see what's bringing them here. Ofri, follow me. So the Jerusalem Bird Observatory has been open for about 26 years. And if you look, Ofri, can you point at the bushes? What we've done here in the last 26 years is we've planted all sorts of trees and bushes that are going to attract birds. They're going to provide food. These are local plants that are adapted to living in Israel and also to the Jerusalem hills. They're going to survive the drought in the summer, and they're going to survive the cold weather in the winter. It can actually snow here. I don't know if you know that. And then in the summer, it can get up to 40 degrees Celsius and be dry for about 7 or 8 months of the year. So our plants have to survive that. One of the most important plants that the birds have is just down the road here. This plant, this tree, come on in closely, can you see it? It's real close here. This is called eshcha, or buckthorn, and it's full of nice berries that are perfect for eating. Birds love these things. And not only the berries, you can't quite tell, but it's full of little aphids that also make great food for birds. This is what we call the gas station of the spring migration. The birds will come, they will eat, and they also do us a service while they're here, because when they pick these berries, it goes through their system, and then they drop it somewhere with a nice little pocket of compost, and the seeds can grow somewhere else. So the birds, when they arrive, are helping us. And Lawrence, can you put up the third slide? You can see here a wonderful little warbler. Is it up? Okay. You can, the next one, Lawrence.
It's up. It's up.
The next one.
I've got the one with the bird eating the thing.
Okay, all right.
There
we go. So here we have a little Sardinian Warbler, one of our local warblers that lives here. You need to go back one, yes. Lives here all year round. Beautiful tiny little bird with a black head and a red eye. And you can see that he's got yellow under his beak. Now that yellow is not part of the bird. That's actually pollen. And this bird is probably eating very happily from almond trees or some other flowering tree, and collecting the pollen. His pollen is being wiped off by the flowers onto its chest. And as it goes from tree to tree, it's going to actually pollinate the flowers for us. So we are providing the birds with a service by giving them food And they're providing us with a service by helping us to maintain, to pollinate, to spread seeds, and to keep the place healthy and happy and lush. So it's a two-way street here, and the birds definitely help us out with this. The other thing the birds are going to want while they're here is water. We're back on the slide, right?
Can you? Okay.
We're going to walk now to our water source, which thanks to Daniel and Larry Neiman, we built a beautiful pond here at the JBO.
I can see it. Okay.
Okay. Let's go this way.
Alen, I have a question while you're walking.
Yep.
What's the Sardinian Warbler in Hebrew?
Sivki Shchor Rosh. We are entering the Bracha bird height here. This is the heart of the Jerusalem Bird Observatory. And from here, we're going to be able to see outside at some of the pond and maybe some of the birds that we see here. Ooh, and there's a beautiful bird here, if I can show it to you guys. So this is the Daniel and Larry Neiman pond. It was
Good.
Here, their feathers have to stay clean all the time in order for them to fly. So water is very, very, very important. And I'm going to try to put my camera up here to my telescope. This is not working. Why is it not working? I need to. Okay. No, we're not getting this to work, so never mind. But what I can see right now in front of me is a kingfisher, and I wish I could get it closer for you. The bird, it's nice and shallow so that they can bathe. This is for them to rest. Did you see that kingfisher fly by? And the pond is built for the birds to encourage them to come. This habitat, this wetland that we've created, has increased the number of species that we see on site. And a little porcupines, dorbanim coming here, and tipodim or hedge jackals. The water source, because we are on the edge of the desert, those of you who haven't been to the Jerusalem area, there are no ponds here, or water is hard to come by. So the minute that you create water and put water, you're going to get life. As they say, if you build it, they will come, and they certainly have come with force. You can see that we're enjoying the fruits of the flowers as well. Spring is coming to an end in another few days, another week or so. All this lush green is going to become brown as things start to dry up for the summer. But we're still enjoying the greenness. We had rain last week, which is highly unusual, and it's been a very, very good year for rain. So this year we are very happy with what we see around here. Only sad thing about this wonderful species that we have is to be a community site. We have
Alen, your audio is really, really bad, so I think it has to come out the.
Volunteers here all the time. Out. Yep. So we're
And
gonna
also,
send out
we've had some more requests for all the names of the vegetation and birds and animals in Hebrew as well.
do my best, okay?
Okay.
So one of the sad things for us over the last couple of months has been the lack of people here. We are a community organization. We always have the place full of volunteers and families and schools. And for the last couple of months, we've been closed here and public has not been allowed on site due to the COVID-19. So it's been really hard for us to have this great flowering going on and all the bird migration, and yet not have the part of the operations here that really means the most to us, which are the people who make this happen and the people that come to enjoy it. And this is why we started doing our Zoom meetings. And one of the great things about that is that we've been able to open it up to people from all over the world like yourself, who may not have been able to come here previously, but are now able to enjoy it with us. So now I want to take you to Rhea, who's waiting for us at the ringing station. And Rhea has been ringing some birds this afternoon. I see he's got a couple to share with us, and he's going to show us what they are and what we do here. The ringing station is sort of the heart of the station, the other heart of the station. If the Mistor was one, this is the other heart. And the research that we do here helps us in many ways. First of all, it helps us learn if all the stuff that we've done for the birds is working. Okay, so we've planted the plants, we've built the water, we've made a great place for the birds. Now we want to see that they're coming, and they do come. We ring here, or band if you're from the States, over 10,000 birds a year. And many of them come back year after year after year. And we know this because we put rings on their legs and we follow their migration pattern. And the other part of the ringing that we do here, the work that we do here with the ringing, is education. We're in the middle of the city. When we catch a bird here, put a ring on it, we often are doing it with an audience of people, whether they're school kids or teachers or elderly pensioners, and they're coming to learn what's going on in Jerusalem, in their own backyard, what birds are here. So it's a very important part of the whole operations here at the Bird Observatory. So first of all, Rhea, hi, how are you?
I am great, how are you?
Fantastic. What do you have for us today?
Okay, so as always, I have a surprise for me as well. I don't know what's in this bag. In a minute, we'll find out. That's one of the things I really like the most about ringing. After getting the birds from the net, sometimes the ringer doesn't even know what's expected in the bag. So it's a new surprise over and over again. The birds waiting in the bags, usually for no longer than a couple of minutes. The bags are made of cloth, so they are well protected and obviously can breathe. Once I take the bird out of the bag, I hold it in a specific way called the ringer's hold, which allows me to handle the bird, control its movement completely, but at the same time, not harming the bird. Once it feels its wings are folded and it's unable to escape, it doesn't even try. So this bird, wow, it's a tiny one. I already have a good idea about what is it. Okay, I'll show it to you. This one is called the Eastern Olivaceous Warbler. It's one of the most common late spring migrants here. Some of them will also stay here in Israel and breed. They are bush area species. They need big clusters of vegetation as wild as possible. They don't like the neat gardens. They always go for the areas with the bush and thorns and undergrowth. That's where they stay.
Andrea, this is a Sichanit Zait,
Sichanit Katana,
sorry, for those of you who wanted the Hebrew name.
Okay, the first thing I do right after I identify the bird I have in my hand is ring it. I'll do it quickly. Perhaps some of you, as already seen the ringing process. So I'm not gonna repeat everything from scratch, but the basics are we have rings with serial numbers. Each ring is unique. The combination, for instance, this one has the combination X443292, Israeli ringing center. That's all we have printed on this ring.
We have
unique.
Someone stopped in to say hello.
Oh, look who's here.
This guy was one of the founders of the Bird Observatory 26 years ago. He was in diapers, I think, at the time, right?
Yeah, I had a nice pony. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our JBO Zoom. It's great to have you around in this lovely Jerusalem afternoon. We're not alone here, although it's Corona time. Lockdown is easing up and people are coming around, and it's really nice to see them here in the JBO, in the parks, in the beautiful bird hide overlooking the Neiman Pond. So back to you, Alen, and I hope you enjoy yourself. See you soon. And keep safe.
Yeah, keep safe. And come and visit.
Yep.
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
So after I tightened the ring on the tarsus, on the hard part of the bird's leg, it's gonna stay there, probably for its entire life. You can see the ring is loose, it's not tight, it's not harmful for the bird whatsoever. It might be a bit of a nag for the first couple of days, but we know for a fact that birds survive and live with these rings for years and years, some of them decades. That's one of the major things we wanna check when we ring birds. We want to have an ability to assess the survival rate of the population, to look at trends with ratio of adults or young birds, and that's only two of the very interesting things we can do with our data. So once this bird is ringed, okay, there's a nice close-up. I'm gonna talk a bit more about the identification of the bird later, if you have some questions about that.
Take a look at that nice long beak that he's got there. That's perfect beak, all the more better for hunting insects.
Yeah, we'll get there in
and little little berries maybe. Perfect beak for that. Nice long and pincer-like.
Okay, so once I ring the bird, I'm gonna measure it quickly to have a biometric assessment of its situation. Okay, the wing and tail length, I'm gonna write it down real quick here. And right before I'm gonna let it go, I have to check a couple more things. One is the amount of fat it's got stored. Fat is an extremely important material generally in nature for organisms, and for migratory birds such as the olivaceous warbler, for the Stichanit Aktana, who make long flights crossing huge deserts. This one probably spent its winter somewhere in Eastern Africa, south of the Sahara, in the Sahel stretch, and to reach its breeding grounds in Israel or a bit north of here, somewhere in the East Mediterranean basin, it needs to cross the Sahara. It does it twice a year. In order to cross this huge stretch of desert with absolutely no food, it needs to store fat, to gain a lot of fat from food prior to its migration, and then using it when flying above areas with absolutely no resource. How do I check the amount of fat it's got stored? I need to blow the breast feathers to the sides. I'm not gonna blow them away. They're just gonna be moved slightly, you see? Okay, wow, this one is doing really well. It's got about half the amount of fat it can store. We grade the fat from 0, which means absolutely no fat, probably a non-migratory bird or a bird that just arrived after crossing the Sahara, got no energy left. This one has 4 out of 8, which is pretty good for this bird. I assume it means it's gonna migrate on, probably in the coming few nights. And just before I let it go, I'm gonna wait. Looks a bit funny. For a second, it's on the scale.
It's really hard to tell a bird to just stand on the thing and wait for a while. So you have to be creative.
This little guy has a body mass of 11.1 grams. That's it.
If there's any kids out there, that's about the size of those little ketchup packets you get, you know, when you get a hamburger. Those little plastic ketchup packets is about 10 grams. So this little guy who's flown all the way from Africa and will go all the way up into Europe weighs 1 ketchup packet. So think about that when you next eat a hamburger.
That's nothing short of amazing
Absolutely.
for me. When I think about these tiny birds, this one, as Alen mentioned earlier, is an insectivorous. It feeds mostly on insects. Just think about the benefit we get from having these guys around. We don't even know they are here, but every day, all of these little warblers are feeding on insects, flying insects. Some of them are harmful to us, like the mosquitoes, for instance. They are a very beautiful and important part of our ecosystem, sometimes unseen. We'll let it go now. Come follow me to
this is the most important part of the whole operation, is returning the bird to nature.
And now, from my palm, it's just gonna hop and fly directly into the cluster of bush we have right out the window. There it goes.
Bye-bye. One of the things we say about these Sichanit katana or olivaceous warblers is that they're a sign that spring is coming to an end, migration is coming to an end, and we only have couple more weeks of the height of migration, which is kind of sad, but we wait for the next one. Did you know that birds will already start migrating south from Europe into Africa in July? I bet you didn't know that autumn started in July.
Yeah, oftentimes people ask me, when is the migration time in Israel? I have to say, it's going year-round. These guys, the black caps, one of our commonest species, peak during the late parts of April, sometimes early May, but we still see them migrating later into the season. The olivaceous warblers that you just saw, and maybe another species that we're going to see soon, they keep migrating, even migrating north in June. Some species already start making it back in July. That's amazing. And Israel is a true place where migration is on year-round. This little black cap is a male. The females have an orange cap. I know the name is given by the male in this case. I don't know if you think it's fair or not, but that's what we have, and we have to deal with it. This bird, I'm not sure if any of you know it. It's not a very colorful or very prominent looking bird, but this species is the single commonest species in Israel. During spring and autumn, tens of millions of individual black caps migrate through Israel. The magnitude of migration is sometimes just unbelievable. One morning you come here to the station and every single piece of vegetation, be the driest, smallest bush, is just packed with these amazing migrants trying to get a bite of a sweet fruit or a little insect in order to get this little bit of extra fat and carry on migrating. We know from...
One second. Someone asked us to repeat the name. So this is a black-capped warbler. Okay, it's a little different from the Sardinian warbler that I showed earlier. It has a little less black on the head, and it doesn't have the red eye of the Sardinian. And like Rhea said, the female has a brown cap, which confuses people sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
The kids here in Jerusalem say that these guys are Orthodox, that he's wearing a yarmulke or a kippah, and when in Jerusalem, do like the Jerusalemites.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very Jerusalemite species, I would say. You can look at its beak. It's got a narrow bill, but it's a bit chunkier and less wide at the base compared to the olivaceous warbler we've just seen recently. This species has a more general diet. It feeds both on little berries that grow on trees and the bush here, but it also feeds on insects. It needs both to maintain its health and physical condition. During migration, they favor the sweet fruit. It's packed with energy and it's very easy to digest without much energy. That's what mostly they feed on when they're here. This guy is already ringed. You can see the ring is already in place. From previous rig traps we've had, we know these birds fly a very, very long way. And like some other warblers that we also see here in Jerusalem, fly very far north and sometimes even west in Europe. These birds are amazingly talented flyers. You can see that this bird is not so big, but take a look at the size of its wing. It's huge. It's one wing is nearly the size of the whole bird. They have to have huge wings and small and very light bodies in order to be able to fly so long. They are amazing flyers, and I really admire them for that. Do you have any more questions about the black cap before we let it go?
So I just want to point out that the black cap is unusual because you can actually look at its wings, and some black caps have shorter wings than others. The ones with the longer wings are coming from more further north, so they can come from as far away as Scandinavia. And the ones who are migrating a shorter distance have shorter wings. So we can actually see different times of the migration season, different groups of these birds passing through as they go further north or south. And someone asked which direction they're going right now. All the birds are heading north from Africa to Europe at this time of year. And then in July, August, they will start heading back to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So
Alen, Rhea, can you hear me?
Yes.
Questions during the time of Corona. Abby Herzog, who I owe an email answer to, Abby, I'll get back to you soon, wants to know about why isn't Rhea wearing a mask, and can the birds catch diseases from us? And also about washing hands in between the birds. Can you transfer bird diseases from bird to bird?
We do not believe that this is transferable, and we do regularly wash our hands, and we do wash the bird bags very regularly. And if someone is sick or shows signs of being sick, they're not allowed to ring here. So he needs to be nice and healthy. He's not wearing a mask himself right now because he does need to, first of all, talk to us. So we
more importantly, blow.
And he needs to blow on the feathers.
It's technically impossible with the mask on. Another thing, the coronavirus, I'm not a virologist by any means, but as far as I know, it's a mammals virus.
Yes.
Birds are not mammals anyway.
Yeah, so far there's been no crossover, and we you know, it's something we worry about crossover of disease all the time, and we do try to take precautions as we go along.
Thank you very much.
The next, welcome. So the next bird I'm going to show you is actually a very exciting species. In any standard, it's called the olive tree warbler. You can see it's a really large warbler. It's got a very nice and fancy big black tail. And
Offrey, can you hold the camera a bit more steady, please? I'm getting a bit seasick. I don't know if
yeah,
the bird's also moving.
There's one thing I cannot control, which is the temper of the bird. You can see this one, is trying to go away, which I can understand, and soon enough we'll let it go. You can see it's a larger warbler, which try to handle it like that. It's got very long wings, and this species called the olive tree warbler is a real specialty of the JBO, the Jerusalem Birds Observatory. I would say this is the best place in the world to watch this species. Mostly during spring migration, but also in early autumn, these birds pass here in numbers that are unmatched by any other location I know in Israel or abroad. They are extremely rare in Europe. They nest in the Balkan and the Mediterranean area, the East Mediterranean area. And for European birders coming to Israel, this is usually one of the target species they want to see, and they know that if they want to have a good chance watching one of the olive tree warblers, they need to come here to the JBO in the late spring, late April or beginning of May. So we are really grateful to have these unique migrants here.
And this is Sechanit Zait.
Sechanit Zait for Hebrew. This one is a bit larger, so it's got a larger ring. You see we have different size of rings. Obviously, these are the smallest one. They're good for sunbirds, for prinias, for willow warblers, etc. And larger sizes. They go all the way to this size, which is good for storks. We don't really trap storks here, but we do have the large rings to show for the audience that come here.
And just in case we get called by the zoo or another institution to help with a bird that was injured and wants to be released.
Okay, so if you have any questions about the olive tree warbler or anything else with ringing I haven't mentioned so far, that's a good time for that before we let it go.
So one of the things for bird watchers, because Israel is such a great place for migration, and because the JBO is also such a great stopover site, if you were a birder from let's say America, and you wanted to see the birds of Europe, instead of traveling around from city to city and place to place through Europe, you come to Israel in 2 weeks in the spring, and you can see most of the birds of Europe very quickly and very easily. And it makes Israel such a wonderful place for bird watching. So not only does the JBO attract the birds, we also attract the bird watchers from all over the world.
It's very true.
And you're going to weigh him and let us know how much he weighs?
Sure, let's see.
Is he 1 ketchup packet or more?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Okay, this one is 16 grams, 0.1. That's like
a little heavier than the last guy. Yeah.
Okay, we let it go now.
Let this guy go.
Go on to the next bag.
And then we'll see one more bird. And then people wanted to know how we catch the birds. I will actually take you out there to show you the nets in a couple minutes. One more bird, and then we'll do that.
And if you could explain again how they check the fat exactly, maybe that little guide.
Okay, so the skin of birds is actually transparent. They don't need to have all sorts of pigment on their skin in order to protect them from the sun, because they have feathers. So we can actually see under the skin, we can see the red muscles of the bird, and we can see the fat as it gets accumulated, which is yellow. There's also a hollow on the throat of the bird that fills up with this fat as they store fat for migration. By the way, this is the same fat that camels store on their hump. I used to learn that they stored water up there. They don't store water, they store fat. It's called brown fat, and this fat breaks down very, very quickly into energy and water as they exercise, as they fly. So they're basically carrying the food and water that they need to cross the desert or to fly on migration. And some of these guys will double their weight when they come here. They come in the spring over the Sahara Desert. They get here, they have even, some of them, lost muscle weight, and they need to eat. They need to stock up their fat again. Some of them can actually double their body weight while they're on site. And I like to ask the tourists while they're here for 10 days or so, how many falafels or hotel breakfasts they're going to eat that will allow them to double their body weight before they head home. Thankfully, us humans don't do it so fast, but the birds are able to do this very easily back and forth and help them to travel across the distances that they need. And they, by the way, they store it under their throat because this is one area that doesn't interfere with their wings as they fly, which they don't want to have any interference. Yeah. And this is a really cool bird that Rhea has in its hand.
So for our last bird, we have a very interesting species. I guess you've heard its name before. It's called the Nightingale. It's got its name in poems and kids' fairy tales and so on. It's a mythical bird, and especially known by its beautiful song. they sing through the night, throughout the night. This one is already ringed, and I did not ring it today. I see it's got a ring already. And as I checked in the database, I see it was ringed here this morning by a good friend of mine, Yotam Leonard, who's also a bird ringer here. This bird has an interesting story. I'll try to explain. Take a look at its tail. Any one of you who's seen a nightingale before knows it's got a long and beautiful tail. This one has a short tail. I'll blow on the base of the feathers and maybe you'll be able to see the feathers are still growing. This bird must have lost its tail, maybe escaping a sparrow hawk or a snake, or maybe even a feral cat that tried to prey on it. Thankfully, the bird is unharmed, but it will probably have to postpone its migration for a week or so to regrow the tail, gain some fat again, and then carry on with its migration. I'm not going to measure the bird again, as probably it's not going to change its wing size within a day. I'll just check how much fat it's got. Okay, it's got 3 out of 8, which is not bad. I think this bird is going to persevere and survive and hopefully make it all the way to Europe, not too late, so it can find an appropriate mate, get a good territory, and hopefully reproduce productively. You want to ask anything about the nightingale before I wait and let it go?
I don't know if you can
back?
see the size of the eye on this bird.
It's relatively very big.
They have very big eyes for the size of head, and that is because they feed under the trees, under the bushes where it's dark, and also will feed at night. So they have big eyes to collect a lot of light and very long legs for walking along the ground to look for insects. And this is, again, it's a nightingale.
Very long legs.
And it's called Zamir in Hebrew.
Zamir Yarden. We have
Zamir Yarden.
2 species of nightingales in Israel. This one is the common nightingale. We also have the thrush nightingale, which is even a more long distance migrant than this guy. These are 2 amazing species. Let's let it go, and hopefully it survives and gets a new tail soon. Okay, flying very well.
So we're going to let Rhea take one more bird out of the bag,
okay,
and just see if it's something new. And then I'm going to take you out towards the nets to show you what's going on there. And at that point, Jay, maybe if there's questions while I walk, we can try to answer the questions. But let's see what comes out of the bag. Both of us have no clue what the volunteers have brought us. So we've seen this little guy before. This is another olivaceous warbler or Sichanit katana.
Yeah, that's true. It's a Sichanit katana. And in this time of the year, as Alen already said, the Sichaniot, the olivaceous warblers are taking over. Even the black caps are becoming more and more scarce, and they become the most dominant migratory species in the field, sometimes even passing the black caps by numbers. This one is new, so I'm going to ring it real quick. And if you ask yourself what happens when we catch a bird with a ring from abroad, well, first of all, we sing a little song or do a little dance, each one with his own habits, but it's very rare, and usually it makes us very happy. It's super exciting to catch a foreign ring on a bird. The next thing we do is record everything: body mass, wing length, date, everything we can measure, and release the bird back into nature with the same ring. We don't add one of our own rings. We don't replace the ring. We just let the bird go. And once we are done ringing, we send an email to the relevant ringing station or relevant ringing center, and hopefully get the information. It's not a common thing to catch a bird from abroad, but when it does happen, it helps us to understand the large scale of migration here. It helps us to understand where these birds are going to, where are they coming from, and with this information, we can hopefully one day help protecting them, not only here in the JBO locally, but also globally, everywhere they go. We need to make sure they can keep going.
People want to know what's in the red bag.
What's in the red bag?
Maybe I'll have Chaim come and start with that one.
I'll finish with that one real quick, and then we'll
So I just want to point out, we will look and see who's in that red bag. I know people have been asking who's moving around in there. That all the data that Ray collects goes onto our special database that we built here at the in Israel, at the Israel Ornithological Center. And yes, all our data does eventually make its way into eBird so that we can keep track of everything.
Yeah.
And we do get reports from all over the world. We do collaborate with all sorts of countries, including our immediate neighbors, where we have had birds from Lebanon and Egypt and Jordan and Palestine. So we do our best to, you know, birds know no boundaries, and neither do researchers. Okay.
This one is really fat, so I'll try to show you the fat again, just before we let it go. Try to see the yellow color of the fat. Okay.
So there we go, we're released. So one more bird and then we'll go for a little walk. We got to see who's in here.
Okay, another black cap.
This is another black cap.
That's very typical.
They do tend to be very robust and energetic birds, so it's no surprise that that's who it was. And he has a ring on him, so we're going to leave Rhea with the black cap. Rhea, thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to have you here, and hopefully soon we'll have you physically here sitting with us and releasing the birds instead of me. Okay. You're more than welcome to come.
And if you catch any like flamingos or anything, just yell and we'll come running back. So I'm going to take us out to the nets to show us where we're going. Jay, maybe you have questions while we're walking.
Well, I'll let Lawrence put together the top questions of the few that you can answer. But meanwhile, I want to answer one of the questions that just came up. Someone asked if we could talk a bit about the funding structure of your activities there. And I'll just say that the JBO, like SPNI in general, is funded partly from, well, the budget of the JBO comes partly from the core budget of SPNI, which itself comes largely 2/3 from self-generated income from all of our activities, our field schools, guided hikes, summer camps, etc. So there's some core budget from SPNI itself, whose budget is made up, as I said, of many parts, including the self-generated income and government, and of course support from the public and through foundations and through the corporate sector. And the JBO too, in addition to the SPNI budget, it hosts school kids whose schools and the cities and municipalities they come from often pay if they can. But the main thing that allows the JBO to continue is your support, your donations. Also to fund, to subsidize the activities that from classes from weaker populations that the schools themselves can't afford the incredible outing to nature and science and community that the JBO offers, and in general to keep things going, because the needs of nature conservation in Israel, in birding specifically, but greater than that, are all the responsibility of SPNI, and especially now, especially when our activities have been shut down, we rely more and more on donations and the support of the public. All donations, large and small, are welcome.
I noticed someone was asking about t-shirts. Jay, t-shirts are available through me, and just need to contact me, get on our website, our Facebook page, and we're happy to send t-shirts out to whoever is interested. Great. So I'm here at the nets, and I don't know if you can see the net. Can you see the net? You probably can't. These are mist nets and they're designed not to be seen. So the birds fly into them, they don't see them, and they get caught. But if I go a little sideways, okay, now you can see that the net is there. You see it? Okay, it goes all the way along here. They're about 1.5 meters to 2 meters tall, depending on where, and about 12 meters in length, I believe. And we put them up when we start ringing in the morning, and we take them down when we're done. We do not leave them on site when we're not here to look after the birds. We have about 12 open nets on a usual day, but we can add to that on different seasons. Because we've been running on a skeleton crew for the last couple months, we haven't put up all our nets on a daily basis, but we've still managed to have a good number of nets open every day. And while I'm out here, I'm going to show you some of our special food that the birds are eating at this time of year as well. Can you see these guys? This is a milk thistle. And these guys are, we call them kotsim here in Israel because they are very prickly, very sharp. And this purple will turn into a white fluffy material with a seed on the end. And the green finches and the goldfinches and the sparrows love to eat this stuff. And then they spread the seeds all over the place, which is wonderful. And over there you can see that yellow bush blooming. I wish I could send you the smell. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is a broom, Spanish broom, and it's also called achirotem in Hebrew. And the smell of it is wonderful at this time of year. The last thing I want to show you out here, we're already preparing for fall migration. So we're looking to see what's going to feed the birds in the fall and in the winter. And here we have a very special tree. I don't know if you can recognize the leaves. This is an olive tree, and you can see that the olive are just starting here to flower, and they will be in full flower in about a week or so. And in the fall, we will have, of course, the olives that will be ready. All that oil that we are used to eating provides much energy, a lot of energy for the migrating birds, and also helps our wintering birds to stay nice and healthy throughout the winter. So we'd like to have the olives around. Great, so that's about the end of our tour. I think it's question time. Lawrence,
hi,
what have you got for us?
That was fantastic. So before we get to questions, and I'm going to try and answer as many questions I see in both the Q&A and the chat. So just start typing, everyone. So say thank you very much to Alen, to Ray, and to Ofri for giving us this amazing tour. Next week, we will be having our first talk about the marine environment, talking about life in the Mediterranean Sea, if you'd like to join us. And that will be at 8 o'clock Israel time, which is 1 p.m. New York time. And as Alen just said, if you would like to join us on Facebook, find us on Facebook. You can look for the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel, which is our main site, or the Jerusalem Bird Observatory, to give it its full title, the Nili and David Jerusalem Bird Observatory. And if you'd like to contact me, you can contact me at international@spni.org.il, or to Alen directly at jbo@inter.net.il. And now on to the questions. So I'll start with an easy one, which I don't really know the answer to. Do you put the rings on one leg for males and on a different leg for females, or is it just the same?
I saw that question. No, we put them all on the same leg. You know, many of the birds that are coming through here, we can't tell the difference between the males and females. They look exactly the same. Of course, there's the black-cap warbler, which does black and white, but we actually don't really know. So we don't try to get too complicated, and we leave the ring on the same leg. And by the way, the rings stay on for life. If we catch a bird from overseas with a ring from overseas, we leave it there. We don't try to change the ring. We just record and release the bird.
Okay, great, thank you. And do we have any problems with mosquitoes here?
Actually, we have very few problems with mosquitoes for two reasons. One, the pond that we have, where you would think we would have a lot of mosquitoes, is full of frogs and tadpoles and dragonflies, and they do a very good job eating the mosquitoes that we do have. And we also have all these great birds that are doing a very good job of catching the insects that we might not want around. Also, you can't see it, and I can't show it to you because they're too far up, but above my head are dozens of common swifts that nest here in the spring. They come here into Jerusalem in late February, early March, and nest in the old city, in the walls of the old city. They even nest in the western wall, the Kotel. And they're just about leaving the nests now, the young, and flying around, learning how to fly and catch food, which they catch in midair. They are great insect eaters and mosquito eaters. So they eat a couple elephants worth of insects every day. So they take care of most of the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Someone was also asking us about training. Where have we studied?
Yes, go for it.
Many of the people who work here as ringers and banders are hobbyists. They have not studied at university to do this, but they have taken our training course, which you can start at the age of 14 to take a training course. You then go through a very strict apprenticeship, which can take several years before you get your banding license. And one of the things we say here at the Bird Observatory is that we catch kids as well as birds. So we're always on the lookout for that kid that comes here with his parent or with his teacher whose eyes just light up and they have lots of questions. That's the kid we try to get into our bird club, into our training programs, and we sort of adopt them, and they're our next generation. These are the guys that are going to take over when I retire, when Amir retires, and make sure that birds are safe for generations to come.
Okay, so we got a few questions about the number of species that you have. So in Israel, we have like 560 different species, but how many species?
Something like that. Many of that last over 500 are what we would call vagrants that maybe have only been seen once or twice. And here at the Bird Observatory, we're looking at about 200 species that we've seen or recorded here in the last 26 years. In the Jerusalem area, about 300 in all. I just want to point out that our site is 1.5 acres in size. So 200 species of birds, and we ring about 10,000 species, 10,000 birds a year. So it might be small, but it packs a big punch here. We do a hopping business in tourists.
Okay, that answers the next question from our friend in Indonesia, is like how many species. So Alen, is there like any way of, if I wanted to find out what birds you caught over the years, is there any way to find that out?
Yes, we're close to, I believe, 200,000 over the past 26 years.
Do you have like a book or something where I can see all the records of all
We will be. We are actually writing and finishing up a book of the last 25 years, which will include a report on every one of the 300 birds I mentioned that has been seen in the Jerusalem area, including all our ringing data and what we've learned along the way. One of the sad things that we have learned along the way is that migratory birds are in dire straits. They are declining in populations all over the world. Much of this has to do with habitat loss along their entire migratory route from their nesting sites to their wintering grounds. And things like hunting and other stresses that are posed along the way of migration. Migration is incredibly stressful. And we will be putting out this book within the next couple of months, I hope. Corona put a little bit of a delay on getting it out, but we are nearing the end and it will be available and people will be able to see all the data that we have. It will be available at the Bird Observatory. It will be available online. We're happy to ship it all over the world. So keep your eyes posted. We will let you know when it's ready.
Great. Yeah, Facebook is always, it will all be announced on Facebook and in our newsletter And if you're not getting our at the moment weekly, but hopefully, but we will probably go back to about a monthly e-newsletter. You can do so on our website, which is www.natureisrael.org. And that tells you all the amazing things that the Society for the Protection of Nature in Israel is doing with your generous support, is doing to protect Israel's nature and also migratory bird life. So, I had a good question. So someone just asked, Barbara just asked, are we tracking birds using sensors? Called
So Barbara, that's a good question. We have not started doing that as yet. However, it's in the works. We are trying to set up a MOTAS system here in Israel. For those of you who don't know, it's a system that's used very frequently up and down the east coast of America and other parts of the US and Canada to track birds using cellular technology. And it's in the works to bring that here to Israel, and we will start doing that here. We also are going to be starting very soon to be tracking via acoustics. So we will be recording birds as they fly overhead during migration at night and trying to identify them using computers to check they're like little sonograms that you see of the birds, and that's really exciting to be getting into some different new technologies over the next year or so. So stay tuned. We'll have lots to say about this.
Gillian, who I recognize the name as one of our very generous donors from the UK, she asked, do the birds get stressed when you handle them?
So, there's always a little stress involved. Even, we liken this to taking the babies to the doctor to get their checkups and their injections and to be measured. It's probably not 100% fun, but the ringers know how to do this with minimal amount of stress. One of the reasons we put them in the cloth bags is a lot of them go to sleep and relax, which reduces stress. We do it as quickly as possible, as calmly as possible, and release them back into the environment as quickly as possible. Research over the years have shown that the ringing process does not interfere with the birds. It does not affect them in their migration or their feeding or anything like that. So we're pretty confident that we do a good job. Our number one, what we call the prime directive, is do not harm the birds. So we do everything in our power to keep them as safe as possible. And if we feel in any way, shape, or form it's too hot, it's too cold, it's wet, we're not being able to process them fast enough because there's too many, we close the nets, we stop, and we give the birds the chance to chill out, rest, and not get too stressed out.
So Michael asks, is there a similar JBO way where it would be really good to see shore and winter birds in Israel?
So the JBO is also great for winter birds.
Sorry, shore and water birds. Sorry, shore and water birds. I can't read.
Shorebirds and waterbirds, absolutely. There's first of all, there's the Magan Michael fish ponds are a great area to see shorebirds. Kfar Rupim in the Jordan Valley is a fantastic place. The Elat Bird Center is great during winter and also during the spring migration. And of course, the Hula Valley is can't be beat for wintering birds, especially the common crane that winters there in huge numbers. So there really isn't a time of year in Israel, except maybe end of June, beginning of July, when things are really quiet here, no migration, really hot. Apart from that, there's really no bad time to be in Israel. There's always something to see and something to enjoy as far as the birds go.
I see a question here from Maxine about, can you show us a porcupine?
Can I show you a porcupine? Ooh, Maxine. They come out at night. I should have gotten a quill out for you so I can show you the quill. But I tell you what, I promise if you go to the Facebook page of this, I will put up some pictures of porcupines in the responses there and show you our porcupines. This is one of the best places I know to see porcupines. They come out every night. to drink and to check out see if there's any bird food that has fallen on the ground. And you can see them here almost every night. Just at the beginning, just after sunset, you can come and sit in our bird hide and enjoy the porcupines.
I would like to say that from my personal experience, the porcupines are amazing. I love seeing them.
They're amazing creatures, yeah.
Yeah. So Alen, how do I actually visit the bird observatory? Where is it physically?
So the Bird Observatory is located right next to the Knesset in downtown Jerusalem. The bird hide is open 24/7. At the moment we are closed, but we hope to open up in the next couple of weeks as restrictions are loosened here in Israel. But the bird hide you can visit every day, all day, throughout the year and throughout the day. Our ringing station is open in the spring every day from the beginning of March to the end of May, and then throughout the year at least 2 or 3 times a year. So you can come and visit us in the mornings. That usually runs between 6 in the morning till around 11 in the morning. And our visitor center is also open every day except Shabbat, Saturday, and you're free to come. We like to have groups call us in advance to arrange a visit, because we often have groups here, but individuals can come whenever they want. And we invite you to come, check us out, check out the birds. Even if you're not a bird watcher, there's stuff to enjoy here. We can show you around, but be careful, because once you start looking at birds, you're going to get hooked, and it can be a changing life experience, and we take no responsibility for it whatsoever. Well, actually we do. Come and join us.
Okay, so Barbara asks, can you still see migrating birds in January or August? Like, what are the best time to see them?
August, definitely. The migration has started already. January, there's less birds actively migrating, but we have a lot of birds wintering here or staging here, getting ready for migration. January is actually a really good time to come and see birds, desert birds, wintering birds in the Hula Valley, and there's a lot to see.
Okay, someone's asked, okay, the person, Carlin, who asked about porcupines, I will put in the next newsletter on Friday, a picture of a porcupine. Just for you. So
I'll send one directly over to you.
Okay, thank you. Neil, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, so these are the last questions. Neil asked, what's the largest bird that you see in the JBO?
The largest bird, we see chukar partridges here. We don't tend to catch them very often, but they do nest on the area. We had a little bittern here this week, which is pretty big. And if you look on our Facebook page, you can see pictures from when from earlier in the week. And our most common raptor that we catch on site, which is the biggest raptor that's sort of regularly seen here, is the Eurasian Sparrow Hawk, which is quite a fantastic bird. He often comes here in the mid-morning after he's had some food to drink some water and have a bath in the pond. They're quite fun to see. We do see bigger birds, but usually they don't stop here. They're just migrating overhead.
So the Sparrow Hawk. So so if you've missed one of our webinars, everything is recorded and put up on our website, which you can see. You can find the page on the www.natureisrael.org under Explore Nature Israel. And on one of I think the first JBO ringing, we actually have footage of the Sparrow Hawk being caught. So yes, you can find that link in that video, and you can enjoy Amir being attacked by the Sparrow Hawk that he's handling.
Yes,
I was cheering the Sparrow Hawk on, but anyway.
I just saw a quick question go across about tours. We can arrange tours, either private tours or group tours, for anybody who wants. Just contact us and let us know when you're planning to be in Israel, and we can try to hook you up to see what you want to see.
Okay, and I think on that note, we'll call it. We'll bring this amazing session to a close. I think Jay's going to come back in now and say goodbye. But if there's any additional questions, just fire them to Alen, which is jbo@inter.net.il, or to me, which is Lawrence at international@sbni.org.il. Thank you very much to everyone who's been donating so far. It's really, really generous of you. And we really, really appreciate your support to protect Israeli nature and the work that we do at the Jerusalem Bird Observatory.
And I just want to say thank you for joining us. I know it's early in the morning in some places of the world, and I hope you enjoyed your cup of coffee with us. You can also find us on Instagram and on Twitter, Jerusalem Bird, and please follow us, be our friends, and share the wealth with other people. Yeah. And have a good World Migratory Bird Day, and Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and stay well. Thank you for sharing, for joining us.
Thanks very much, Alen, Lawrence, everybody who came from everywhere. I just want to let everybody know that also we have friends organizations in the States, centered in New York, but with board members all over the tri-state area, in Vermont, Austin, and new board member in Albuquerque. And in Canada, we have an active group in Toronto where our board sits, but with supporters from throughout Canada. We also have small volunteer offices in the UK, in London, and in France. So please remember our friends from around the world. You can get active where you are. And they do educational activities, which often mean that we come out. We send Alen and Amir go out once or twice a year to the East Coast, sometimes the West Coast, Canada, other birders, other experts. So get in touch with our American officers or with us if you'd like to host somebody in your community back for when things return to normal. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Happy Mother's Day.